Hey, what's going on, everyone? This is Mitch. Good Wednesday evening to you all. Hope you guys are doing well out there. Have had yourselves a great Wednesday and a great week out there so far as we're halfway through it. We're going to talk about a couple things tonight. One being the big news, which is the fact that we have an enhanced risk now for our Friday, which is here in the next couple days. We have a slight risk for tomorrow for severe weather, but that enhanced risk is a pretty big risk. That's a level 3 out of 5, and really the biggest risk is for damaging winds. But the chances for some tornadoes have certainly increased. We're going to go over all the data, all the information for you guys, and try to keep you guys as updated as possible. And then we're going to give you an update on the tropics. Take a look at what's going on with Lisa right now as it has made landfall a couple hours ago. And then we'll give you an update on that little spin that could potentially sling itself towards the southeast sometime next week. We're going to talk about what we know with that. I want to remind y'all, this is the last video I'm going to be able to make until Sunday, so I'm not going to be able to have you guys updated information on this severe weather event. Potentially an outbreak, let's hope not, but of course there's a lot of other great weather YouTubers out there that keep you guys updated, including a lot of great people who go live during these severe weather events that I'm sure you folks will be tuning into. I'll be honest with you guys, if I had to say that there was a category of weather that I don't enjoy talking about the most, it's certainly severe weather. I enjoy chasing severe weather the most, but talking about it, I love snow and I like talking about the tropics. But severe weather is still part of the weather, and sometimes, a lot of times, it's the most threatening when it comes to tornadoes and things. So we're going to try to figure this out, but definitely tune in to a lot of other people who will be ready for you guys, but I'll be on vacation, so hit me up on Twitter. It's a great way to follow along, and I'll certainly be retweeting information out there to keep you guys up to date if you guys don't have other ways to stay up to date. But just bear with me, guys. I'll be back with you guys Sunday, and I don't see any interruptions for the foreseeable future. I was going to be going to Brevard for around Thanksgiving, but that trip got canceled for the family. We're going to be home for Thanksgiving. So after this trip to Gatlinburg, pretty much that's it. So I'll be with you guys consistently through the foreseeable future. So if you guys have not subscribed, certainly consider doing that. And if you guys got anything that I can pray about, please put it in the comments below. It gives me an opportunity to pray over it, and it gives others an opportunity to do so too. So, excuse me. Let's give one last update on Lisa. Lisa made impact as a Category 1 hurricane in Belize. I'm hearing reports out of Belize City that most of the city is underwater. There's a pretty known storm chaser. They call him Ice Cyclone, who went down to this area to chase Hurricane Lisa. But I hope we can get Lisa on out of here, and I hope you guys recover throughout the rest of the week. And hopefully there's not too much damage, guys. I really hope there's not. Praying for you guys. But outside of that, I don't see anything going on besides obviously a hurricane being right on top of your country. So hope you guys are definitely hunkered down, and there's not going to be any loss of life. But sometimes that's just inevitable. So let's just hope there isn't. As far as the latest update from the National Hurricane Center, I mean, we're in record-breaking territory. Literally at this point, we got 2 hurricanes on November 2nd. We got Hurricane Martin out here, which is doing its thing, not bothering anybody. And then we got Hurricane Lisa, which will rapidly weaken over the next several hours. And then we have this area of interest, has a 20% chance to develop in the next 5 days. And this is that spin I've been kind of talking about a little bit with you guys that we definitely need to watch. Let's take a look at this. Excuse me, let me get a deep breath here. The latest GFS, and what this shows, the latest GFS right off the press here. This is what it does with this little spin. As we're getting into this weekend, we're getting into around Sunday. You can already see a huge influx of moisture right here, well east of the Bahamas, which is right here. Watch how this kind of spins. There's a low pressure that forms here and just kind of slings itself towards Florida, Georgia, the Carolinas. This brings potentially a lot of heavy rain along the Atlantic, basically the southeast coastline, basically the eastern coastline of Florida, Georgia, South Carolina, potentially. We're just not quite sure yet, but this is getting into Wednesday morning. You got a low pressure showing based off this one run of the GFS, low pressure right off the coast of the southeast, the Carolinas, and this actually ends up going right into the southeast. Brings a lot of heavy rain into Georgia, South Carolina, maybe Florida, but it's everywhere right now. We're still trying to figure out what this is going to do. Looks like it's going to be just a huge, massive, broad area of a low pressure, and it's going to be very difficult to figure out. But hopefully by the time I get back with you guys Sunday, we'll have a much better handling on what's going to go on with this. But the European still shows it also. Low pressure out here just slings a ton of moisture sometime Tuesday into Wednesday morning into the Carolinas. And that's all she wrote with it. By the time we get into next weekend, it's on out of here. But it'll be interesting. I think it'll definitely be a weather story, that's for sure. So we're still trying to figure that out. So let's talk about this severe weather event. First off, we got a slight risk for tomorrow, but I'm telling you, I don't think this is going to be a big deal. There's a 2% risk of a tornado in this green area, and then there's a wind threat. The wind threat's the highest. There's a 15% risk of winds pushing 50 knots or higher in this yellow area. But I don't think tomorrow is going to be a big deal. I think there's going to be probably a difficult time of storms firing up for tomorrow. It's Friday that's going to be the issue. You got enhanced risk, and I think this could be shifted a little bit further into the Dallas-Fort Worth area. But basically, you got this orange area sitting in between Waco, Lufkin, Shreveport, Dallas, and a very small section of Arkansas and southeast Oklahoma. So I have a feeling once we get to tomorrow, there will probably be maybe a 15% risk, maybe some kind of hatch risk of damaging winds occurring. But it's gonna be difficult. It's gonna be difficult. That's why it's just important to have a way to get updates, because this has a couple days to get worse. In fact, I mentioned last night that it was looking better, but it just happens a lot. Once we get into these short-range convective models, a lot of times things trend worse. And it's just the way things go. But this is an enhanced risk. This is a pretty big deal. Level 3 out of 5. I don't think it's going to get to a moderate risk, but we certainly need to watch out. So looking at this, what we got is just basically this deep upper trough that digs down, and it's not looking like, based off most model guidance, that we're going to have a closed low with this upper trough. It looks like it gets closed at certain points, but overall never really fully closes. It's just a deep digging upper trough here. And what happens is when it swings across the southern plains, it brings a southerly flow, and a ton of low-level moisture screams in here in eastern Texas. And this is going to create an environment supportive of all hazards, severe weather-wise. So we look at the latest HRRR model, and this is the last frame of it. Notice the HRRR model wants to throw a lot of snow, not a lot, but a lot compared to other models of snow into western Kansas and central Nebraska. This will be valid for around 1 p.m. Friday. But what's concerning right here is you have a lot of prefrontal convection right into here. The last frame of the HRRR model. In fact, the last couple, this is literally the last 4 hours of the HRRR model, really erupts these cells very quickly across northeast Texas and right on top of the Dallas-Fort Worth area into areas of southeast Oklahoma. The thought process is with this is there's going to be eventually some kind of squall line that forms, and that's going to be a damaging wind threat. And this will form along a trailing sharp cold front that will move through areas of Texas, Oklahoma, just the southern plains in general. But the one thing we always watch for is something called prefrontal convection, or just preconvection. And the trend today has been with the NAM and the HRRR model that we could have that. And if that happens, that means that convection forms in a very prime environment of a sector of very warm, moist air. And in this part, especially once you get into this part of Texas right here, for example, dew points could climb into the 60s, maybe close to 70. And the higher the dew points get, probably the higher CAPE levels you have, which means that you could certainly have a lot of energy for these storms to work with. The tornado threat certainly increases. So the latest HRRR model with a significant tornado parameter, and guys, this isn't something to always look at really well because sometimes it's overdone. But in general, you just look at this to say, hey, where's the highest tornado risk on this particular model run right here? And with this, you can tell it's right here in northeast Texas and in southeast Oklahoma, where you have STP values, significant tornado parameter values around 3 to 4, maybe up to as much as a 5 somewhere in these areas north of Dallas. So the atmosphere is certainly going to be supportive for at least some tornadoes. Then you got the updraft helicity swath, and it tells you with some of these storms that fire up right at the end that, hey, that some of these storms will be spinning. I mean, even look up here, you got some spin up with some storms right up here. But you look at the NAM. The NAM is definitely concerning, and the NAM kind of unfolds the entire story for us because it goes out 60 hours on the 3 km NAM. And what happens here is you see the cold front right into here, right? And then you have this prefrontal convection that fires up ahead of this cold front. This is a lot of prefrontal convection. So you're going to have a tornado threat with this. You're going to have a damaging wind threat, a large hail threat with this, especially the higher the dew points, the higher the chances for significant hail to fall, especially with this. You get any kind of supercells that form ahead of this main squall line, there's definitely going to be a heightened tornado threat. So that's something you got to watch for as we get into tomorrow evening, even into Friday. Chances for a tornado could increase very quickly leading up to the event, especially if guidance comes in very quickly showing that prefrontal convection is going to be an issue in a bad way. So it's just something we need to watch. There could be just a lot of sloppy convection, or it could be semi-discrete supercells. But in this entire area, of southeast Oklahoma, northeast Texas, and then you got to watch this trailing squall line that's going to bring a huge damaging wind threat throughout the entire rest of eastern Texas into Arkansas, into Shreveport, and we got to see how much this holds together as it makes it into Mississippi and Tennessee, maybe even Alabama on down the road. But if you look at this is the NAM. Let's try to get a little bit, get this going a little bit better for us here. We're getting into Thursday, getting into Friday. Look at all this high-level humidity building in front of this deep digging trough right here. And as you can tell, dew points rising into the 70s in southeast Texas, eastern Texas. All these purples right here, these are dew points in the 70s. Dew points in the upper 60s is even still well supportive enough of severe weather and tornadic activity. We're getting into Friday afternoon. Of course, the atmosphere cuts off very quickly with the trailing cold front, but ahead of this, you're going to have a juicy atmosphere and a warm sector for these storms to bubble up in. And let's hope they do not, because it could spell trouble for sure. So that's really all I got with that. Definitely stay tuned, guys. If you live in this area, have a way. I'm never one to say don't watch other people, only watch me. But my primary concern is to keep you guys safe, and there's a lot of other people who do it well too with this. But there's going to be an area right into here, northeast Texas, southeast Oklahoma, into Arkansas, northern Louisiana. We need to watch out because this is going to be an atmosphere that's prime for all hazards potentially. But last thing we'll talk about is a lot of people are starting to ask, what's up with seems like we're warming back up, and we have. And I think we're going to stay relatively warm probably for the next at least week. But one thing I am watching is as we get into this weekend, it's going to stay warm. No real cold fronts make it all the way through the eastern U.S. for the foreseeable future. In fact, we're getting into next Monday, widespread 80s, maybe all the way up to Washington, D.C., just based off one run of the GFS. But you see some cold air building in Canada. But, I mean, it's still very warm. And then maybe a cold front, as we're getting into about a week out from today, starts to break loose and we start to have a huge battleground of temperatures. And then maybe this cold front finally makes it, cools us back down. And yeah, I mean, this is 10 days out at this point, and it looks like some cooler air finally arrives for the eastern U.S. With some really chilly air for the northern U.S. But guys, I don't really see any consistency right now. What I can tell you is it looks like with some ensembles and some model runs that we might have a pattern flip around mid-month. But, I mean, it's November 2nd. It's hard to take that serious. It really is. But, you know, eventually you got to flip. Just like we got very lucky here in the eastern U.S. and had a nice end to September and had a very, very nice October, while the western U.S. torched and didn't really have a great start to fall. But now they're a little bit cooler. They're cooling back down. So eventually it's going to flip back, and that's just the way it rolls. So we'll continue to watch that. Maybe we'll know more about a pattern flip by the time I get back Sunday. But that's all I got, guys. Definitely hit me up on Twitter, guys. It's a great way to follow along. I'll be posting stuff on my trip, and I'll definitely we'll continue to keep you guys updated. I might go live with you guys a night or two on my trip, just to kind of give you some updated information, maybe just to show you a video of Gatlinburg or something. I kind of did that last year, if some of you guys remember. But overall, vacation's vacation. So thank y'all for tuning in. God bless all y'all. And I guess I'll talk to you guys, most of y'all, Sunday. God bless.